All right. So off to the races here. Thank you guys all for being here. It's really cool to see you, and I look forward to talking about this cool project with you and hearing about your interests. Can we maybe start with introductions? Just 15 seconds of what you're studying here, maybe what interests you about the portal, and whether you've been in it before in previous years. And then that'll help me as I'm explaining the thing and showing you some slides and things like that. So I'll call on people just so I go in my, to make it easier. Olivia, can you start?
Yeah, I'm Olivia. I normally go by Liv. I'm a freshman this year. I'm probably going to study international studies or poli-sci. I'm kind of like in the middle right now. And I haven't had any experience with the portal at BC, but for my high school during the pandemic, we did like a very similar online exchange program that I helped run. So it was like a very similar like thing that I would probably like have some sort of like knowledge of from that.
Yeah, very cool. Where are you from?
California, Oakland,
Okay,
California.
great. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
welcome. Thanks for coming.
thank you.
Tituan.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, perfect. Sorry. So I'm Titouan. I'm from France. I am an exchange student at BC. I'm a junior technical, I think, according to BC administration at least. And I never had any experience with the portal before, but I was very interested when I learned about it like a few weeks ago. That's why I would like to be a curator.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah. I'm a senior. I'm majoring in international studies and French. I'm part of Global Conversations, and I really enjoyed that experience. And this is a little bit similar, but I'm really think it would be really interesting to speak more directly to migrants and refugees rather than just merely about the topic.
Terrific. Yeah, welcome. Thanks. Vincent.
Hi, I'm Vincent. I'm a senior at BC. I'm from Saratoga Springs, New York, and I'm studying international studies and theology with a minor in Russian. And yeah, like Leah said, I'm also part of Global Conversations, and it seems like a really cool experience to be able to talk with people and such directly.
Moira, while we're doing introductions, can you put a link to Global Conversations in the chat for everybody, for those who aren't familiar? Grace. Thanks, Vincent. Good to see you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Grace. I'm studying IS and finance. I'm a senior, and I just thought it sounded like a cool opportunity when you talked about it in class, but I'm not involved in anything in the IS program, and I figured I should do that before I graduate because I'm an IS senior. So
cool. Yeah, thanks for being here. Tad.
Hi, I'm Tad. I'm a sophomore, also studying international studies. I didn't have the opportunity to go last year, but I had some friends who did and told me it was an amazing experience. So I just thought it would be interesting to see what it was about.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Where are you from?
From just outside of Seattle.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. Bayram? Bayram, can you?
Hi, sorry, yeah, my mic was acting up. Hi, so yeah, I'm Baram. I'm a freshman at BC. I'm from Chicago. I'm planning on majoring in econ, but I think I might apply to the international studies major. It sounds really interesting, kind of aligns with my interests. I never did the portal before. I actually just like saw it on my email a couple of days ago. Thought it was pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm just here to kind of learn more about it and see what it's about.
Awesome. Yeah, you're in the right place. Thanks so much. Maria, you said your speaker is working up. Are you able to say hi? Maybe not. No problem. Okay. Oh, you're good? No. No. Okay. All right. Well, let me get started by saying a little bit, or Moira, actually, sorry. Marcy, say hello a bit too.
Hi, I'm Moira. I'm an international studies major and a French minor. I participated in the portal when it was over in the McMillan Museum last spring. And I love the diversity of locations that the portal connects with all over the world.
Great. And Moira is one of our international studies peer advisors this year. So you'll see her name in various things. for mentoring if you're a freshman or sophomore and just coming into our program. But she'll be serving as our lead curator for this. So she'll be helping to organize the schedules and help with training with people and things like that. And while she has been in the portal before, all of us, each installation is a bit new, and you'll all get training if you come to work for the program to do this role. You'll get training about how to use the technology and some of the best practices and principles of leading these conversations and everything. So there's not at all any requirement that you have past experience with the portal. So let me show you visually a bit about what the portal looks like, and then that'll give you a sense of like its physicality. And I'll talk a little bit about what makes that special. And then we can, go through any questions that you might have. Let's go to PowerPoint here. Can you guys see this PowerPoint okay? Yes, okay. So, boy, it's coming up weird on all my different screens here, but I think it'll work just fine. So the portal itself, when I say the word portal, I'm using the language of this company called Shared Studios. And it started as sort of an art collaborative in New York and Washington among people who wanted to see what it would be like to create real, meaningful conversations between people that are separated in distance. So the metaphor of the portal is one of as if you were, teleported or able to look directly through a glass wall and see something else immediately in front of you. That's the metaphor of the portal, like you're lifted from one place to another, even though you're staying in one place. And they design these spaces. It has a lot of theory behind the kind of work, the kind of spaces that they build, but they build them with a kind of intentionality around being immersive, meaning that you leave distractions behind you and you step into a space in which you can talk in a focused way with someone through this portal, through the wall in front of you, essentially. And portals are designed to connect people like us to other parts of the world. They have a business model now about 10 years after they started this project, and I've been working with them with this sort of stuff for about 7 or 8 of those years. And they have a goal to bring people together, not just in random collections, but in intentional collections as well. So they've evolved from putting these portals in like Times Square to putting them around all sorts of places like refugee camps and resettlement communities and universities and farming cooperatives and all kinds of startup entrepreneurship centers, et cetera, in the global South, and then connect with organizations and institutions from middle schools to universities in the global North to have real conversations. And when they say that when they offer curated experiences, that will be partly your job. They're curated on the other end by staff who work at these portals in Kigali or in Bamako or Erbil or whatever. They're curated in the sense that there's a curator, and the language here is one of like in the museum world, where a curator who curates an exhibit takes the time to consider what should be on display and how the interaction should work. A conversational curator in a portal is one who's helping to shape the conversations that are happening between the two places. And on both sides of the conversation, in both places where the portals are, there's curation happening, and we can have reciprocity back and forth. I'll explain a little bit more about what that means. This is a little outdated map. This is the portal in Erbil, Iraq. So I want to highlight that there's different outside looking spaces or where these portals are. This one is sponsored by UNICEF. It's in an IDP camp, a camp for internally displaced persons from Iraq, especially from the ISIS or Islamic State attacks on populations in Kurdistan. So a lot of the people here are from northern Iraq, from the Kurdistan area, many of them from Mosul, and they've been displaced from their homes and now live in an IDP camp. There are some refugees there as well from Syria, but it's primarily Iraqis. But this used to be an old gas pumping station, and it's been converted into a portal on their end. Portals are also placed at very high-end sort of functions by Shared Studios. You see former President Barack Obama talking to people in a different kind of portal but set up with these virtual screens that won't be the same kind that we use. But you'll see they say London, Erbil, Seoul, Mexico City, etc. So they use these for Davos and the United Nations and the U.S. Congress and other types of high-end events like that as well. But at BC, the portal is going to look like this. It's a gold painted shipping container. And we put it right here where you see it at the edge of the library at the top of the $1 Million Steps, facing Gasson, with the doors that open in the back facing Gasson. The shipping container is purposeful on their part. First of all, it's cheap and easy to find shipping containers anywhere in the world, literally. But also, it's a sort of emblem of global commerce and exchange. It's a standardized container that, as you know, gets put on the backs of trucks or trains or cargo ships, et cetera. So it is one of the benchmark icons of global commerce. And because of that ubiquity, it also is inexpensive. And that's one of the reasons they use it to convert it into a video studio on the inside. This is an older generation of the portal that we had at Boston College in fall of 2017. You'll see that it's carpeted on the inside. It has some lights. There's a microphone on the ceiling and an air conditioning unit up there. And it has a projector on the side that projects a screen in front of you. One thing that's notable about the screen, if you probably aren't able to see this, but if you can see my mouse, I'm circling a black hole in the screen. And that screen is, that hole is where the pinpoint camera is. And the reason that matters is that when you're sitting, you're looking straight at the camera at eye level. Unlike Zoom, where I have to look up to the top of my monitor to see the camera, this camera is right in the middle of the screen when you're seated. So it gives the appearance on the other side of talking eye to eye with everyone. And the size of the screen, the 8-foot square screen that's presented there, presents a much larger field of view than Zoom does. So not only are you have a full body experience, you can see the people you're talking to and you're looking at them eye to eye. It feels like with the room behind you enclosed the way it is, your focus is entirely put forward onto the conversation. You've also left your backpack behind you and your phone and things like that, and you're not using a laptop and you're focused on a conversation. These are some of the big features of the intentionality that come around what they do there. As you can see, the first year that we did this, I just had the portal for a week for 15 hours of conversations with 3 different spots. And we focused on refugees. And we tied it into some events on campus. About the one on the right is an event we did with refugees being resettled in the Boston area. And on the left is one of the banners outside of the portal. That year, we had an exhibit in the library where people would come to look at learn about the global refugee flow. And on the right is an example of some of the members of our soccer team who came into the portal and did juggling skills with some of the kids in the camp in Erbil that you saw the portal of recently. We do all sorts of things, not just sitting and talking, but singing music, doing poetry recitations. We'll have a table pushed up, I'll show you in a minute, to have shared meals with people in other parts of the world. The next fall, the reason that these vary in number of duration and things is that it costs money to do this, and I have to raise this money from various parties, grant makers, and people on campus. So each year I've had a little bit of different amount of support. But this is a group of Arab students from my class that I teach ethics, religion, and international politics. And the curator standing up there on the left, and Julia. And that fall, we had a longer session with more hours and different organizations. And then randomly, we had a bagpiper walk by one day and pop into the portal and play for the people on the other side, which was funny. The next fall, we expanded. You see on the left and right tables pushed up against the wall. On the left-hand side, that's Lagos in Nigeria. And you see that they pushed a table up to the screen as well. So it looks like the table extends directly from Boston into Lagos. And we talked about food and culture and the things that what food meant to us and what food meant to them and what we were eating, et cetera. And in the center on the top is Professor Prasanni Guro, the Director of Environmental Studies, doing a session in Spanish and English with portals that were in one in Honduras and one in Puerto Rico. The one on the left is in Puerto Rico. And they talked about climate change and agriculture in the 2 places. So that's another example of an outside event that was, why am I not working here? There we go. Here are some of our happy curators from that year. You too could be among the happy curators. And we've been written about in a number of different places around the portal. On the bottom right, you see a group of faculty theologians talking to theologians in Kigali in Rwanda. In spring of 22, of course, we had a gap during the pandemic. And then in spring of 22, we expanded to 7 weeks. And in the fall, we had a little bit less, but focused more on climate change related to the conference of parties for the UN Climate Convention. And in the spring of this year, Professor Bailey from Political Science worked with me and people in the McMullen Museum of Art to have a quasi-permanent installation there up on the top floor as part of a museum exhibit. And that's where some of you may have gone. And then this year, we're back to 4 weeks, a whole month, 65 hours or so, 12 different sites, 4 to 6 curators. And our themes will be focused on climate, education, health, innovation, and migration. I want to say one other thing briefly about kind of how this fits into what BC is and wants to be. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the practicalities of being a curator. So one of the reasons that BC has been funding this in its different ways, and this year it's sponsored by the School of Management, the School of Nursing, the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, and the School of Social Work, in addition to the IS program and the Islamic Civ and Societies program and the BC undergraduate government. And the reason that we've got such broad understanding, broad commitments to help to work to funding this is that it fits with BC's strategic priorities around being globally engaged, thinking about the way that what we study shapes us as people. That's what we call formative education. And that we're doing something innovative here by asking what can be done in a digital space that's not putting you in a particular place. Because it would not be morally sound to go travel to a refugee camp for conversations, purely for conversations like this. But the people that we're talking to in some of these areas, they're asking to be a part of this, and they find it enormously important to have a conversation with us about what their lives are like. And so we see that it is something that is a really key part of what makes Boston College, this idea of seeing humanizing distant other, understanding complex problems that are global as being ones in which humans are involved and real people are involved. So what does the curator do? So we have these sessions, which I'm not going to flip back to the web right now, but on our website, we have a schedule that says exactly, I'll do this when the Q&A comes, that says exactly when the portal is open. Maybe Moira, you can post a link to the portal page that has a link to the schedule. So we've already blocked out with the company shared studios the hours of the day that we'll be connecting and the places where we'll be connecting. So we have a fixed schedule from October 23rd to November 17th. And during those times, the portal curator will be in charge of unlocking the portal, opening the door, turning on the projector and the computer, using Slack or WhatsApp to communicate with the curator on the other side, the other portal that you'll be connecting to, and then getting the video link set up together. You've all done a million video conferences through Zoom or whatever. They have a proprietary system that they use, but it's very straightforward. And they'll be here to train us the weekend before as well. And then when the conversation starts, typically you have between 4 and 10 people who are visiting the portal. In most occasions, they'll be from classes like my class where my students are coming, or from other classes, and there'll be sections of class. And some of them will want to talk about specific things, and that will be known to us and to you about the sort of main topics. The people on the other end could vary. Usually it's 1 or 2 curators who are paid as full-time people or part-time people on the other side to help have these conversations, and they'll bring in someone else to talk as well. Sometimes as an expert to say, here's something we've learned and we want to share. Sometimes just as like a colleague or a young person or an artist or someone, an activist who wants to talk about what they're doing and learn about what you think about it and has a back and forth process to it. So the goal is that we have as much reciprocity as possible in our conversations. Sometimes the conversations can, become a little spicy in the sense that, if we talk to some party, like sometimes if we've talked in the past to Afghanistan or to Gaza City, and people may feel aggrieved by American foreign policy toward their people or toward their particular cities or homes or families. Sometimes they feel that Americans aren't really well informed about what's going on, and they'll try to, ask questions about that. Our role is to help, but they've all asked to be a part of these conversations and want to talk to American students and professors about this. And there is just an enormous amount of learning that goes on. 95% of the conversations are really lovely and are spirited and interesting around all sorts of topics. And so students come in and ask questions and people respond. And some of our sessions will have music, again, some poetry. We'll be creative over the coming weeks as we book these things. So yeah, you'll get training by Shared Studios. We'll talk about sort of the principles of active listening. Your job will be, if sometimes they all go off quite easily and all the students involved are asking questions and everybody's back and forth and it's all really robust. Other times students are a little more quiet or awkward. Typically, all of our sessions are about 50 or 55 minutes, a little less than an hour. And sometimes professors want to break that up in half, but there's usually a 10 or sometimes maybe even 15-minute awkward period where people are wondering how the technology is working and whether or not they can hear you okay, or maybe the translation is a little slow if they're using another language on the other side. Most of these are conducted completely in English, but some of them will have non-English speakers talking with English-speaking curators on the other side. And so that's where sometimes your language skills can come in to be helpful. If you have Arabic or French or Spanish, those are, I think, our primary languages that would be useful. But all of them are capable of being done completely in English from our side. So let me pause there and just let you ask questions and tell you about it. The position is paid. We'll pay you the undergraduate student rate, which I think is about $15.50 an hour, something like that. We'll have to figure out how many curators we have and who can cover what to see in order to see how many hours you would work in each of those weeks, but we'll just do it as a team. So I wouldn't expect more than like 6 hours. But it needs to be more than 1 hour because we just can't train you to do 1 hour a week. We need a little bit more of a commitment than that, but we'll have to look at your schedules and you can look at the schedule that Moira linked there. Let me pause for questions and see if that's spurred your imagination or what kinds of other things you might want to ask about. Yeah, Liv.
And do the curators like participate in the conversations at all? Are they mostly kind of like on the sides, like for tech support and things like that?
Good question. It really kind of depends on the session. I would say that the ideal session, which is probably maybe 50% of them, is where there's a smallish, robust group of students of 6 students. They're eager to talk and the people on the other side are eager to talk and they mesh really well. And it's like, you really don't need to step in at all. I don't know if that's ideal or not, but you would kick things off by introducing yourself and the others and letting students introduce themselves. And then you'll do a little, you'll note kind of what the theme is about and then turn it over maybe to the people on the other side or back to BC. You'll facilitate the beginning of it and then it's off and running. But at least half of them require more than that, where the conversation may flag a bit, or someone may be struggling to understand what's going on, and you might need to rephrase and recapture the tone of the question for people. Sometimes you might need to help, ask a question yourself to help get the things going. You'll also be talking with people before and after, so with the curators on the other side. So you'll have a chance to chit chat with them, sometimes for 10 or 15 minutes before it gets started. And you'll see them frequently. If you do the same thing for 4 weeks, you'll see them each week a couple times and you'll get to know them a bit and frequently tend to exchange, hellos or socials or whatever. And that's kind of a cool aspect of things. And you can ask them whatever you want when that's happening as well.
Great, thank you.
Good. Yeah, Leah.
Do the curators on the other side also come to the BC portal with like topics in mind, or is it mostly like us like just bringing it up in conversation?
Great question. So the curators, the way it's functioning right now for this engagement this fall, we request topics. We give people a choice of 1 to 3 in each place that Shared Studios tells us is available during those times, which are now already booked. They say, here are 1 to 3 themes that they talk about a lot, that they're good at. They have people who are interested in this, who can speak on these topics. And the big themes that, I mentioned: climate, environment, climate, education, health, migration, and innovation. These are very broad themes, and they vary according to the place. So they will come in knowing that our group is asked to talk about a particular theme, and they will come in on the other side having stories to tell about that frequently. And depending, but it may vary. Sometimes there's like, this person started an NGO and they are trying to solve the problem of, violence in this camp, and they did this project and they want to talk about how the psychosocial aspects of migration come into play here. And then students will ask questions about identity and whatever. Every once in a while, or sometimes there'll be sort of only the curator there if we haven't overspecified what we want. And the curators are quite different and quite interesting in all the parts, around the world. So you may end up like, for several years in the Erbil portal, a guy named Rami was the portal curator, and he's a rapper and like a poet, and was a college student also, or maybe in early graduate school studying computer science back in Mosul, and was also just, his family was displaced, and he's been living in a camp for 4 years. And like, he's filled with complexities. He knows a ton about music and culture and the United States and everything, but he's also Kurdish speaker and Arabic speaker and studying computer science. And you just talk to him about what life is like. He'll ask questions, you ask questions. I don't know all the people who will be in the portal on the other side for us, but they won't be university students. Well, they won't be traditional students. I'll put it that way. Whereas with Global Conversations, the Zoom-based stuff that we do, they're going to be students at universities around the world. And these are going to be more, a little bit older, usually, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, who are living the life that we're talking about and want to share that with people. So but they are being, in the first instance, responsive to our requests about theme. But what's going to happen is that some sessions won't be fully booked with students from a class or something. And so we'll have what we call open hours or walk-in hours, where at that point we'll have 2 curators on staff, where we'll have one inside the portal having conversations and leading them, and one outside the portal inviting people to come on in for 10 minutes and talk to someone from Johannesburg. And, there's a bit of, you need to be outgoing to pull people in like that, to get them to stay. And sometimes, that has produced such magical conversations. It's been really interesting. And that harkens back to the original kind of way that the portal started as Shared Studio, of opening the back door, letting people just stumble by and poke in and say, oh, what's this? And that moment of recognition that there's someone interesting there in real time, standing in front of you in Johannesburg, is pretty awesome. And then you just sit down and ask some questions about politics, about music, about life, whatever. So in those cases, we don't quite know who's going to come in. Sometimes they open their portal door and let people stumble by also. And those chance encounters are pretty cool. So it really ranges. Other questions, comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Just logistically, is there somewhere you can learn more about the network of portals? And do other portals, do they mostly just try to speak with Americans, or is it very between
yeah,
different camps?
So if you go to sharedstudios.com, or also you'll see stuff on our own portal website. Moira posted a short link, but you can go to bc.edu/geportal, bc.edu/geportal for Global Engagement Portal. And you'll see links to Shared Studios and videos that they've made about it, and a link to their website. The portals that we'll be connecting to are in Kigali, Nakivale, Uganda. So Kigali, Rwanda. Nakivale is a very large refugee camp in Uganda for East African and Southern African refugees. Bamako, Mali, Lagos, Nigeria, Johannesburg, South Africa, Gaza City in Palestine, Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan, Mexico City, and in Barbados. We had one that was going to be online in Brazil, and they had to move it recently, so we won't be online with them anymore. So those are the portals we'll talk to. They have others that are in different modes. These portals literally move in most cases. They move around. And so Share Studios is moving them into different things. But those are they all connect to each other. And so they will have different sessions with different groups of Europeans and Latin Americans and whatever. There's school kids in Brazil and graduate students in Berlin and whatever. So it's not just Americans and not just college students that they talk to. There are portals across the United States as well that have been used for US to US stuff, like studying criminal justice. So there's a portal that was put in a juvenile detention facility, and then people studying criminology, students, undergraduates, would talk to peers their own age who are incarcerated and learn about their lives and hear about their stuff like that. So they do these in all these different contexts. For our purposes, the ones that we have up will be the ones that we will expect to talk to, and they'll have those are the kinds of people we'll be talking to in each one. Other questions? I can say it's funny. It's like simple in one sense. It feels very like it's just a box with a video screen on it, but it's been created with a lot of intentionality. And the beauty of it is in the fact that they have a network of people who are good at this, who are having conversations like this around the world. It's not like Zoom. Like right now, I see all kinds of stuff. I've got multiple screens in my office, and I've got, your text chain over here, and I've got a blinking light saying I've got emails and texts, and I'm sitting with all the stuff in front of me. You walk into the portal and you sit there, and it's a black box, and you're looking at this very large screen, and it's a very different experience. And I think it's really quite moving, honestly. And the thing that curators get that even the people who just swing by for an hour don't get is repetition and reciprocity. You get an opportunity to build relationships with the people, and also to learn about how BC students respond to this. What do they bring with them? What are the knowledges and lack of knowledge? What are the insights or personality types or interests, etc. And you get to see a lot of different fellow students and professors and staff and things who come through this too, and that's a really cool opportunity. So I hope you'll all put in a little application. It's a very low barrier. It's just to help us get to know what makes you interested in it. And I think it asks you about your schedules too. And we'll be looking at those over the weekend or early next week, and reach out to people to chat with you to see how we can put people into the schedule properly. This is not some like radical competitive club or something where, you've got to dazzle me. We want people who want to be there, who will be reliable, and who are ready to, can fit into the schedule for us. That's our goal. And so if for some reason your schedule doesn't fit with ours, or you're overlapping with 2 other people and we can't, we can't make that work, we'll talk to you and figure out ways that you can come and enjoy time in the portal in a couple different occasions to make sure you get the experience, and you can do it next year. So it's really, like I said, this isn't some you must write this beautiful thing. Just tell me what you're interested in, and we'll try to make the schedules work to get as many people as we can, given the number of hours that we have to do it. Okay. Thank you, guys. Great to see you all. Thanks for coming. I'll linger if anybody wants to stay and ask anything, but you're all free to go. And thanks for sending your stuff in. You can ask Moira or me any questions. Her email is, she'll post her email here, but it's also on the email you got to confirm your presence here. So, okay. Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Professor.